It is July 1940 for Normandy, France. The engine of the Piper IV Grasshopper cools, ticking in the humid summer air. Major Charles Carpenter has just touched down, his eyes still adjusting from the aerial perspective of the hedgerows to the mud and chaos of the ground. He barely cuts the ignition when a runner sprints to the aircraft. The order is immediate. There is no time for debriefing. He is to commandeer a jeep and drive to the zero line, absolute edge of the American Advancito Scout for a forward airstrip. Carpenter looks at his plane. He calls it the Fighting Grasshopper. He has plans to strap bazookas under those fabric wings, to turn the observation platform into a hunter. But that modification is for another day. Right now, the war demands speed on the ground. Copy that. He jumps into a waiting jeep. He guns the accelerator. The vehicle surges forward, tires spinning in the loose dirt before biting. He is racing toward Avranches, toward the sound of the guns. The French countryside blurs. Carpenter pushes the jeep to its mechanical limit, the suspension bottoming out as he navigates cratered roads. The roar of artillery grows louder, a constant, low-frequency thudding that rattles the chassis. He is closing the distance to the front line, seeking a flat stretch of land amidst the ruin. He rounds a sharp bend near Avranches and slams on the brakes. The jeep skids, dust overtaking the rear wheels. The tactical picture ahead is wrong. 5 M4 Sherman tanks are filling the road, but they aren't advancing. Their engines are screaming in high reverse, tracks churning up the earth as they back away from the town. Airbursts crack overhead, German 80, atop flak guns leveled for ground combat. The American armor is retreating under heavy fire. Carpenter frowns. He has been flying over this sector for 48 hours. From the air, he saw scattered resistance, broken supply lines. He did not see a German force concentration capable of routing a Sherman platoon. He floors the accelerator. He is driving against the flow of the retreat. The situation at the bend is total disarray. Infantrymen are scrambling for cover in the drainage ditches, pinned down by the terrifying velocity of the German 80s slamming into their positions. Carpenter brings the jeep to a halt, the tires screeching on the tarmac. He bails out, sprinting low, diving into a ditch alongside the terrified GIS. The air is thick with cordite and dirt. What's going on? Carpenter yells over the din of incoming fire. A breathless soldier, helmet askew, yells back. We tried to take the bridge, going into the town. We were met with an overwhelming response. Carpenter looks at the smoke rising from the town. How many hundreds of them? It's a wall of steel. Carpenter shakes his head. The aerial reconnaissance doesn't match the ground report. That can't be right. It's got to be a German trick, a feint. The soldier just stares at him, eyes wide with the shock of combat. The fear is contagious, paralyzing the unit. Carpenter realizes he is the only one who has seen the battlefield from above. He knows the German strength is a facade, but knowledge isn't enough. He needs kinetic action. He waits for the sharp crack, thump of an incoming shell to subside, then he scrambles out of the ditch. He runs straight toward the lead Sherman. He climbs the hull of the retreating tank, boots slipping on the steel, and hauls himself up to the turret. He grabs the grip of the external, 50 caliber 8, Wu Browning machine gun, racking the charging handle. The tank commander pops his head out of the hatch, face streaked with grease and sweat. He stares at the major in disbelief. What the hell are you doing? Carpenter flashes the pilot's wings pinned to his uniform. I've been flying over these positions for days. I know what's down there. The Germans can be beaten. There's not that many of them. Let's go. The commander shakes his head. No way, flyboy, we're not going anywhere. We're pulling back. Carpenter draws his sidearm, or perhaps just points the heavy barrel of the 50 cal. His voice cuts through the noise of the idling engine. You either move or I'm going to shoot you myself. The ultimatum hangs in the air. The commander looks at the town where the 88s are barking, and then at the frantic major perched on his turret. The choice is binary, certain court, martial or death by Carpenter here, or a chance at survival in the town. Let's go, the commander yells down into the intercom. The driver engages the forward gear. The Sherman lurches, the tracks biting into the asphalt. The 30-ton beast roars to life, shifting from retreat to assault. Stay tight with the armor, Carpenter shouts. He is now the de facto platoon leader, exposed from the waist up, manning the Modus. Ricochets, keep moving, push forward. The column of 5 Shermans rolls toward the bridge. The psychological shift is instant. The infantry, seeing the tanks advance, begin to rally. As they cross the threshold of the bridge, the German defense activates. The distinct ripping canvas sound of M42 machine guns erupts. Bullets spark off the glacis plates of the Shermans. Carpenter doesn't flinch. He depresses the butterfly trigger of the .50 caliber. The heavy machine gun thumps rhythmically, sending a stream of tracers into the German position. He is suppressing the enemy, forcing heads down. Bearing 200, the tank commander screams to his gunner inside the turret. Carpenter feels the mechanical whine through his boots as the turret rotates beneath him. He has to shift his balance to stay upright. Inside the steel belly of the tank, the gunner peers through the telescopic sight, bringing the crosshairs onto the muzzle flash of the machine gun nest. On the way, fire, the main gun recoils violently. A 70, 5mm high, explosive shell screams out of the barrel. Downrange, the German M nest vanishes. The shell impacts directly, turning the sandbags and the weapon into a crater of smoking earth. The blast pressure at this range is immense. Carpenter is slammed backward by the overpressure of his own tank's gun. The wind is knocked out of him. He gasps, lungs burning, but adrenaline overrides the shock. He hauls himself back onto the gun. The German infantry are scrambling, stunned by the sudden aggression of the American armor. They peer out from cover to return fire, but they are staring down the barrels of 5 advancing Shermans. Run! The Germans break, load it up, get another shell in the breach. Carpenter yells, his voice hoarse. He sweeps the .50 cal left and right, cutting down shadows in the ruins. Forward to the town, the tanks roll off the bridge and into the streets of Avranches. The acoustic environment changes sound of the engines echoing off the stone buildings. Stay tight, watch your angles, Carpenter commands. He is possessed by the momentum of the attack. They round a corner. At the end of the street, a fortified building looms. Could be an ambush, Carpenter screams. Let it go. The lead Sherman fires without hesitating. The 70, 5mm shell slams into the facade of the building, blowing out the front wall. Dust and debris choke the street. The German anti-tank crews, manning the dreaded 88mm guns in the town square, realize they are being overrun. The Shermans are closing too fast for them to traverse their guns. They spike the weapons and flee. Clear, keep moving. The American column sweeps through the objective. Boys, secure those abandoned guns. Carpenter shouts to the infantry following in their wake. You got it, Major. They find the 88's abandoned. The town is ostensibly secured. But the adrenaline hasn't faded for Carpenter. He is driven by a singular focus, total clearance, tanks spread out, sweep the outskirts, make sure no enemies are lurking. Carpenter directs the lead Sherman around the perimeter of the town, scanning the hedgerows and fields. Visibility is broken by smoke and vegetation. He spots a silhouette in a field ahead, turret, hull. Low profile, tank, fire, the command leaves his mouth instantly. A split second later, his brain processes the visual data more clearly. The shape, the markings, it is an American Sherman. Belay that. Stand down, he screams, his hands waving frantically. But the reaction time of the crew is faster than the counter. Order. The gun beneath him fires. Carpenter feels a sickening weight in his stomach, heavier than any force. He watches the tracer arc across the field, destined for the friendly tank. The shell strikes. It hits the front of the Targa, a specialized Sherman bulldozer variant. The high explosive round impacts the heavy steel demining plow attached to the front hull. The explosion is massive, shrapnel flying into the dirt. Silence falls over the field. Miraculously, the plow absorbs the entire energy of the blast. The crew inside is shaken, ears ringing but alive. The tank is operational. The battle for Avranches draws to a close. The adrenaline crashes. The reality of what just happeneth near. Fratricide settles in. Charles Carpenter's mood darkens instantly. He slides down from the turret, his legs trembling not from fear, but from the sudden cessation of combat. The platoon commander of the bulldozer tank climbs out. He sees the pilot standing there. He signals his men. Arrest him, the commander roars. You damn fool. You could have gotten us all killed. Major Carpenter is disarmed. He is escorted away from the Shermans, away from the victory he orchestrated. He is driven to the rear, not as a hero, but as a prisoner. The military justice system moves quickly. Carpenter sits in a makeshift brig, awaiting court, martial. The charges are severe: reckless endangerment, friendly fire, commandeering a unit without authorization. The whisper among the guards is that he could face a firing squad. The paperwork moves up the chain of command until it hits the desk of General George. Patton reads the report. He reads about the pilot who took a jeep to the front, hijacked a tank platoon at gunpoint, broke a German counter, attacked and liberated a town, only to nearly blow up a friendly bulldozer in his zeal. Patton laughs. He denies the court martial. Instead, he recommends Carpenter for the Silver Star. This, Patton reportedly says, is the type of soldier I want in my army. Carpenter is released. He returns to his airfield. The ground war is over for him, but the air war is just beginning. It is September 1944, the outskirts of Arracourt, France. The weather is atrocious. A thick, suffocating blanket of fog clings to the French countryside, grounding the mighty tactical air power of the Allies. The 47 thunderbolts and typhoons, usually the masters of the sky, sit silent on muddy airstrips miles away. They cannot see to strike, but the war does not stop for the weather. Major Charles Carpenter stands by his aircraft. It is the same Piper IV Grasshopper, but it has evolved. It is no longer just a pair of eyes. Underneath the fragile fabric, covered wings, Carpenter has rigged a field modification that would make an engineer wince. Strapped to the struts are 6 Monaon Bazooka 3 on each wing. They are infantry anti-tank weapons, wired into the cockpit with a crude electrical ignition system. He has christened the plane Rosie the Rocketer. It is a slow, noisy, unarmored kite going up against the Wehrmacht. Inside the cockpit, the radio is a chaotic storm of static and panic. Breakthrough, Sector 4, we have heavy armor advancing. Panzers, we can't hold them, the reports flood in. An entire German Panzer division, supported by 2 additional brigades, is launching a massive counterattack. They are pushing hard, exploiting the weather, driving a wedge straight toward the Allied headquarters. The command staff, logistical units, and lightly armed rear echelon troops are directly in the path of heavy steel. Carpenter taxis Rosie onto the wet grass. The engine coughs, then catches. He throttles up. The Vor bounces over the uneven ground and lifts sluggishly into the gray soup. He is flying blind. The world outside the plexiglas is a wall of white. He checks his altimeter and compass, relying on dead reckoning to stay over friendly lines. "Come on," he mutters, scanning the opacity below. "Clear up a little." He circles the sector where the fighting is reported to be heaviest. The drone of his engine is likely audible to the men on the ground, a lone insect in the mist. Then, a miracle. A transient thermal shift tears a hole in the fog bank. It's a small window, but it's enough. Carpenter looks down. His stomach tightens. Directly below, a column of German Panther tanks is advancing. They are monster spotty, 5 tons of sloped armor and high-velocity weaponry. They are rolling unopposed, their tracks churning the mud. And ahead of them, Carpenter sees American troops wading through a river, exposed and unaware of the steel avalanche looming just behind the tree line. The Germans are minutes away from overrunning the Ecke. Carpenter does not radio for help. There is no one else coming. He pushes the stick forward. The Grasshopper tips its nose down. He isn't gliding, he is plunging. He lines up the lead Panther in his windshield. The tactical problem is severe. The Bazooka rockets have a short, effective range and a curved trajectory. To ensure a kill, he needs to hit the top arm, or thinnest part of the tank. That means he has to get close. Dangerously close, the wind screams over the fabric wings. The struts shudder under the aerodynamic load. Rosie is diving almost vertically. Carpenter's hand hovers over the improvised toggle switch panel. He watches the Panther grow in his windscreen. It fills his vision. He can see the commander's hatch, the engine deck vents. He is inside the lethal envelope. He flicks 2 switches. 2 rockets scream off the launch tubes, trailing gray smoke. The recoil shudders through the light airframe. Carpenter hauls back on the stick, fighting the force. The IV groans as it pulls out of the dive, just feet above the treetops. The rockets slam into the soft earth, mere feet from the lead Panther. Mud and shrapnel spray the hull, but the tank keeps moving. It's a miss. The element of surprise is gone. The German column halts, confusion turning instantly to aggression. It's one of those crazy spotters with rockets. A German officer screams. Fire, every hatch on the Panthers flies open. Commanders and loaders man their pintle, mounted machine guns. Infantry riding on the engine decks raise their Mossers and M40s. The air around Carpenter fills with lead. He can hear the impacts of sickening thwack, whack, whack as bullets punch through the fabric fuselage and wings. Sunlight streams through new jagged holes in the linen skin of the aircraft. But the IV is built of wood and cloth. The bullets pass clean through without hitting anything vital. The engine keeps humming. On the ground, the stranded Americans in the river watch in disbelief. They have a front row seat to the most lopsided duel of the war, a fabric plane versus a Panzer company. Carpenter banks hard, jinking left and right. He uses the rudder pedals to skid the plane, throwing off the German aim. He is running away. He is coming around. One more time, he breathes. He climbs back into the mist, using the cloud base to mask his approach, then drops down again. He aligns the nose with the lead Panther. The German gunners are tracking him now, tracers reaching up like fiery fingers. He ignores them. He focuses on the geometry of the shot. He needs to be steeper, closer. He pushes Rosie into another dive. The ground rushes up. The muzzle flashes from the tank's machine guns are bright strobes in the gloom. He waits until he can see the rivets on the turret. 2-2, 3-inch hijacks. Explosive anti-tank heat rockets ignite. They streak downward, covering the short distance in a heartbeat. Direct hit. The rockets slam into the turret roof and the engine deck. The shaped charges detonate, turning the copper liners into jets of molten metal, moving at hypersonic speeds. The jets burn through the thin top armor like a blowtorch through wax. The effect is immediate. Smoke belches from the Panther's hatches. The ammunition inside cooks off. The crew bails out, tumbling onto the grass, uniforms smoking. That's one down, Carpenter says, grit in his teeth. But there's a lot more to go. He pulls Rosie around in a tight energy, bleeding turn. The remaining Germans are furious now. The volume of fire intensifies. A German half-track, armed with a flak cannon, slews its turret, trying to track the nimble plane. Carpenter feels the plane buck as more rounds clip the tail section. He does check the damage. He has 2 rockets left. He lines up the half-track. He is flying through a storm of tracers. "Come on, old girl," he whispers to the plane. Hold together, he dives. The flak bursts are close, black puffs of smoke rattling the canopy. He holds his nerve. He waits for the sight picture to settle. The rockets fire. They strike the half, track squarely in the flank. The vehicle disappears in a ball of gasoline and high explosives. Debris cartwheels into the air. Silence returns to the cockpit, save for the engine. Carpenter checks his panel. All switches down, empty. The stranded Americans in the river are cheering, pumping their fists in the air. But Carpenter can't stay. He wags his wings in acknowledgement and turns for home. He lands at the forward strip. The wheels barely touch the mud before he is shouting at the ground crew. Loaded up now. The mechanics rush to the aircraft. They see the holes in the wings, the shredded fabric of the rudder. They look at Carpenter like he is a ghost. But they don't argue. They grab fresh bazookas, wiring them onto the struts with practiced, frantic speed. Carpenter doesn't even kill the engine. He drinks from a canteen, wipes the sweat from his eyes, and checks the magnetos. Clear, he throttles up. Rosie the Rocketer, heavy with fresh ordnance, claws her way back into the sky. He arrives back over the battlefield. The Germans haven't moved far. The burning hulk of the Panther and the half track have blocked the road, causing a traffic jam in the column. The fog is shifting, thinning slightly. The Americans on the ground look up. They can't believe it. He came back. Carpenter picks his next target, another Panther, trying to maneuver around the wreckage of its leader. He dives. The Germans know the drill now. They put up a wall of fire. But Carpenter is in the rhythm. He knows the dive angle. He knows the release point. He fires. The rockets strike the engine compartment of the second Panther. The fuel tanks ignite. A pillar of black oily smoke joins the gray fog. He pulls up, circling like a bird of prey. He spots another half-track trying to deploy infantry. He rolls in, fires, the half-track erupts. Click. Click, nothing happens. He is dry again. Carpenter curses. He banks away, the adrenaline vibrating through his hands. He has blunted the spearhead, but the battle isn't over. He turns Rosie back toward the airfield for the second time. He lands. The mechanics are already running with crates of rockets. They are laughing now, caught up in the sheer audacity of it. They patch the worst of the bullet holes with duct tape and dope while others wire the weapons. Carpenter takes off for the third sortie. As he climbs out, the sun finally begins to win the war against the weather. The fog bank is breaking apart, dissolving into wisps. The battlefield is revealing itself. The air is crisper now. The layers of mist are peeling back, exposing the tactical map of the Arracourt sector. Carpenter scans the terrain. His eyes catch movement. Below him, a platoon of 4 American M18 Hellcat tank destroyers is holding a position near a tree line. Their turrets are facing forward, scanning the open ground ahead. They are hunting, but they are being hunted. Behind them, using the last tendrils of the fog and the terrain for cover, a column of German Panzer IVs is stalking up the rear. The Germans have flanked the American position. They are maneuvering into the 6 o'clock blind spot of the Hellcats. The range is closing. The Germans are seconds away from a firing solution. The Hellcat crews have no idea they are about to be executed. Carpenter slams the throttle forward. He has to intervene. He has to scream a warning, but he has no radio link to the armor below. He has only one way to communicate. He dives into the attack run, flying directly over the top of the oblivious Hellcats. The engine screams as he pushes Rosie past her red line speed. Turn around, he yells inside the cockpit, willing the message down to the crews. Look behind you. He levels out just above the Hellcats' open turrets. He is so low, the downdraft ripples the grass. He pulls the nose up to clear the trees and lines up the lead Panzer IV. He doesn't have time for precision. He needs noise. He needs chaos. Click, 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 click. He ripples fire. 4 rockets streak off the tubes in rapid succession. The salvo is messy. The rockets slam into the ground around the German formation, kicking up fountains of dirt and debris. They don't score a direct kill, but the impact is unmistakable. On the ground, the Hellcat commanders flinch at the sudden roar of explosions behind them. What is he? One commander shouts, looking up at the crazy Grasshopper pulling geese above them. Then he sees where the rockets landed. He sees the gray shapes of the Panzers emerging from the smoke. Enemy behind us. Traverse, traverse, rear action. The M18 Hellcats are the fastest tracked vehicles of the war. Their turrets spin with electric speed. The drivers pivot the hulls. Carpenter looks back over his shoulder as he climbs away. He sees the Hellcat 70, 6 guns lock on to the surprised Germans. The American tank destroyers fire. The ambush is reversed. The lead Panzer bursts into flames. Carpenter smiles. The German column halts, trapped in a kill zone of their own making. The surprise attack has failed. The advance is broken. Later that evening, under the cover of darkness, 6 American soldiers emerge from the river line and slip back into friendly territory. They are wet, exhausted, and shaken. They report to intelligence officers. They give a full account of the battle. They speak of a lone Piper Cub that fought a Panzer division. They speak of a pilot who dived into flak to save them. The story spreads through the ranks. The legend is cemented. Major Charles Carpenter earns the name he will carry for the rest of his life. Bazooka Charlie, but war's end. Machines are discarded. When the guns fall silent in 1945, Rosie the Rocketer, plane that killed tanks, is just another surplus airframe. She is sold off. She disappears into the civilian market, her war paint stripped, her rocket tubes removed, her identity erased. For decades, she is lost to history. Cut to 2017, Austria. Joe Shale, an aviation enthusiast and historian, walks through a quiet aviation museum. He is looking at the collection of vintage light aircraft. He stops beneath a Piper IV hanging from the ceiling. It is painted in generic civilian yellow. It looks like a weekend flyer, but Shale knows what to look for. He looks at the logbooks. He looks at the serial numbers. The museum has no idea what they have. This is Rosie. This is the tank killer. The Collings Foundation acquires the airframe immediately. They bring her home. The restoration is meticulous. They strip away the civilian paint, searching for the ghosts of 1,944. They find the original mounting points for the bazookas. They find the patches where German bullets punched through the wings. They restore her to full flight status. They repaint her in the olive drab of the US Army, and for the final touch, they call in a special artist. The nose Arth cartoon of Rosie the Rocketer's hand, painted onto the cowling by Major Charles Carpenter's own granddaughter. Today, Rosie sits in the American Heritage Museum in Massachusetts. She is pristine, her rocket tubes mounted once again under her wings, a silent testament to the days when a fabric kite fought the heavy steel of the third Riachand one. Charlie saved our behinds, one of the survivors said years later, but it was still not an easy fight. What do you think was the craziest part of this story? Was it hijacking a tank platoon at gunpoint, or taking a fabric plane up against a Tiger tank? If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of WWII's wildest solo missions, make sure to hit that like button. It really helps the channel. Subscribe and ring the bell so you don't miss the next story from the front lines. And let me know in the comments, which unsung hero should we cover next? Thanks for watching.